Hi, I'm Adam Mark from adammarkmusic.co.uk. I'm going to show you how I mix my drum tracks. Today I'm going to start with how I EQ them. There are many different ways in which you can EQ your drums. I've tried many myself. This way that I'm about to show you, I feel gives me a smoother workflow and stops me from making any important mistakes along the way.
Okay, so here's a session view. A few things before we start. I like to colour code my tracks, keep them all nice and uniform together, so that you can see kicks are all the same colour, snares, etc. I also like to bus them together, so I've got, when I recorded it, I'll record inside the kick drum, outside the kick drum, so I've bussed the two kicks together. I've also done that with the top and bottom of a snare, etc. So all the toms are together also. It enables me to EQ over the top of them all, so I can EQ them together. It also gives me the opportunity to turn up and down the volume as well. So there we go. First of all, let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, first of all, I like to split out the kick in and out, so I'll use the in as the kind of like the beta sound. I use it out as the low end, the boominess, so that's where I start with the EQ. So here you can see I've boosted the high end, quite a broad Q as well. I like to keep it nice and broad, I suppose, for this kind of EQing to begin with, and then get a little narrow as I go along. Maybe if I add another EQ on top, but that's another time. I've also took out the muddiness, so here you can hear. Let's turn that up a bit. So yeah, was a little bit muddy before, so I've took that out. I've let that given room for the other kick, and also boosted the high end. So here's with and without. You can hear it's a bit muddier without, so I just made it a bit clearer. Okay, moving on to the low kick or kick out. So I've boosted the lows around 120. Brought them out a bit. I've also added a high pass filter. You'll notice I've added a high pass filter to both of them. 65 here, as there wasn't really anything I needed below that, and here 40. I needed a bit more of a low, and I took out the highs a bit. I left that for the clickiness of a beta, really, so they're not really getting in each other's way. So this is them together. I've turned down the out a bit. Okay, and then on top of that, I've added a little bit more of the lows, a little bit more of the highs. So there you go, just makes it sound a bit more all round, really. Let's hear it in context. Okay, so moving on, next is the snare. I usually work in this kind of method. I would start with a kick, snare, toms, and then kind of work onto the higher kind of sounding, the higher spectrum. So here we have the bottom of the snare. So obviously you can hear a lot of the kick in this. So there was a lot of the low end of a kick. So obviously I've used a high pass filter in there. Took a lot of that out really, because I'm not really wanting a lot of the low end for this. I found at the top of the snare, if you can hear. So the top of the snare's got that real like low end smack, and the bottom, I wanted to pick up the rattle of the snare underneath. So that's what I've gone for there really. So let's start with that. So yeah, I've boosted around the bottom a bit for the bottom and also the top to bring out that snare sound. And then I've gone in with a low end, took a little bit out there because it was a bit too much of a kick coming through. And then on top of that, so I've added a bit more high end, a bit more of the thump in there as well. Just listen to it in context. Okay, so next was the toms. Let's get a loop of that. Okay, so first was the lowest tom. So at the minute, it's sounding a bit, not really getting a low, so I went quite drastic with this one. I went all the way up to 9 dB boost, 10 dB boost, just to bring out the highs and also the boom of the low end. There wasn't a lot of a low end coming through, so I really had to boost that quite a bit. So I've used 2 here, around 80 to get the sub, and 120-ish to get a bit more for the headphone kind of people. Okay, so we've got a low pass filter around 40. There's not a lot to hear around below 40, so most of the things will be high passed, at least there. Okay. Okay, so we've got a higher tom. So I brought out the low end a little bit, give that a bit boom, and also boosted the top, but I've took the mids out to stop it from being a bit woolly. Okay, this one's a bit more. You'll notice that with all of these, I've kind of gone more and more with the high pass filter as the 3 go along. So obviously 50 and a 40. So the lower I've kind of gone, so as you go, the drum roll comes down. It kind of goes lower. It kind of emphasises that with the high pass filters. So this one's the highest and the high pass. The low end, I've boosted that. I've took out a fair amount of the mids. Didn't really need it, to be honest. But I wanted to accent the hit points of that, make it cut through the mix a bit better. So here it is in context. Okay, so next was hi-hat. Space bar a bit. So again, there was a lot in the overheads of this, so I didn't really need too much of it. That's what I've gone with. I've boosted the high end. I've also took out a lot of the low, filtered that out, and also took some of this low end here out, just to get rid of any of the boomy of the rest of the drums really. Okay, so come to the overheads. I didn't really put an EQ on the left or the right because I wanted to do it all together, make it sound nice and equal. It's there probably is some situations where you could EQ them differently, but with this one I didn't feel it was necessary. So here I've got around a 90 high pass. Let's see what that's different there. So I took out a lot of the lows, left that to the actual kick drum to do, and I've boosted the highs. Just, you know, brought out the cymbals a lot better there. You can hear a lot of the hi-hat a bit better there as well. That's why I did turn the hi-hat down, actually, didn't I? Okay, next was a room. I recorded it about a metre away from the kit, the first one, and the rest was as far back as I could go in the room, probably about 3 metres. First one, I took out a lot of the low. Wasn't needed at all, mainly for kind of reverb. I suppose you could add artificial reverb, but not going through that today. But as a natural kind of reverb, it's nice just to open up the kit a bit better with this in. Just gives the kit a little bit more air, so I've boosted the high end a little bit to bring out the cymbals. Yeah, I've cut a lot of the low out because it's not really needed. It's all been dealt with by the kick and the low end of the snare. It kind of just muffles it up, so yeah, I took that much out. And the same with this one really. It's kind of the same kind of EQ. So there we go really, you could just hear that. Just wanted to emphasise the high end a bit more. So there you go, that's how I EQ my drum kit. So I'll let you listen with the EQ and then I'll take the EQ away.
Okay, I hope that helped. You can head over to my website, adammarkmusic.co.uk, where you'll find out all of my latest news. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this video if you enjoyed it. And once again, thank you for watching.